I've got a question that's about 2 minutes, 10 seconds long, so please bear with me. My question is about the epistemic structure of Advaita. It seems that Advaita has taken the problems with Sankhya, Buddhism, etc., and outsourced them all to Maya, keeping Brahman untouched and unblemished. One cannot question Brahman because it is nirguna and nishkriya. One cannot question Maya because the question itself is wrong. Space, time, and causation are within Maya, so one cannot ask why Maya. And within Maya itself, Advaita defers all explanations to science. So the question is, what can one ask of Advaita? That got me thinking about the principle of falsifiability. Advaita as a knowledge-based system should have a principle of falsifiability, like any scientific hypothesis. What is that for Advaita? Now, before you answer the question, though, I want to preemptively rule out 3 common responses, I would think. One, unlike science that deals with empirical evidence and objectifies everything, Advaita deals with the pure subject or pure consciousness. 2, Panchadasi and other texts begin with the normal I sense. Since it is a direct first-person experience-based, it doesn't need falsifiability. But as it builds on from there, first-person experience is therefore not subject to falsifiability principles. And lastly, as one probes deeper into Advaita, we come across paradoxes, at which point we've heard you talk about there's no more explanation possible. It is then up to the intuition to take a final turn towards oneself. So should we accept some fundamental assumptions like Brahman, Jiva, Maya, and so on as axiomatic, similar to how science accepts numbers, and not question them? Given these three caveats, does Advaita have a genuine falsifiability criteria, or is it a simply logically consistent but self-sealing system?
Excellent question.
It's difficult. Questions are becoming more and more difficult. The question itself is logically consistent and self-sealing. Yeah. All right. Very well put. I remember having a similar discussion with a well-known mathematician, Marcus du Sautoy. He teaches pure mathematics at Oxford University. He's written a number of books. This question of falsifiability, we had some discussion. I remember vaguely. All right. So falsifiability, is it Kuhn's criterion?
No, Swami, it was somebody else. I read about it.
Popper, Kuhn, Thomas Kuhn? It's part of the philosophy of science that a genuine scientific theory should have a falsifiability criterion. That you can, suppose you can design an experiment, at least theoretically, which can prove it this way or that way. It could falsify that theory. Then it's a genuine theory. If it's a theory which is true no matter what, then it's more likely to be what mathematicians or logicians call trivial. Who?
Koch's postulates.
Koch.
We talk about proving something and disproving something.
Yes.
And that meets scientific.
Popper. Popper. I thought it was Popper. Popper is a philosopher of science. So either Kuhn or Popper. Kuhn is paradigm shift. That Popper is that falsifiability criterion. So any genuine scientific proposition should be falsifiable. Is Advaita falsifiable? No, it's not. If you understand it carefully, what you're trying to say, it is inevitable. It is necessary. But only if you understand it. And why? What are the logical reasons? One is, from the perspective of the Enlightened One, it's an obvious fact. I'll give it 2 perspectives, our perspective and the Enlightened One's perspective. From the Enlightened One's perspective, it's an obvious fact. And the Enlightened One will say, come up with your falsifiability theories, your alternative explanations of the state of existence, what we experience, and he will disprove all of that. So classic example is the text Khandana Khadya, written about 1,000 years ago by a great Advaita philosopher, Sri Harsha. What he does in that book, instead of trying to prove Advaita, he disproves every possible theory. What are the alternative theories, the dualistic theories of the Nyaya and so on and so forth, whatever were current 1,000 years ago. It's regarded as one of the toughest books to crack. Very difficult. But this approach is called in Indian logic as Vitanda. Vitanda means I have no independent thesis to prove. But whatever you say is wrong. I'll prove whatever you say, I'll prove it wrong. The Vedanta can be used in different ways. One is used by Sri Harsha to show that every alternative explanation is wrong. So Advaita remains self-proved. Anyway, where does that leave the falsifiability criterion? What Advaita epistemology, what it will say about the falsifiability criterion is that that is a very good criterion when your thesis is about something objective. The state of affairs can be this way or that way with regard to the objective world. Now note, proving and disproving are done to consciousness. You, the conscious being, a proof reveals its results to you, or a disproving reveals its results to you. But in both cases, the consciousness is the witness. Can you disprove consciousness? You cannot. There are two sides to it. One is the Cogito ergo sum of Descartes. You cannot dispute your own existence. To do that, you will reveal your own existence. But if you go a little further, put it in Advaitic terms, the same thing is there. To disprove consciousness, you will need consciousness. To cancel something, to prove something as false, it will be proved to consciousness. So if you say consciousness does not exist, consciousness is the witness of that statement, and immediately it's self-falsifying. So the criterion of falsifiability operates, but there is an area in which it operates. All scientific theories are about the universe of objects. And there, the criterion of falsifiability is a very powerful criterion to apply. Is there a genuine statement being made about how things are in the world? Are they this way or that way? And but both this way and that way are presented to one consciousness. So that cannot be disproved. Does that deal with your question?
That's one of the three exclusions I said. Please
yes.
don't.
No, the exclusion you said was the first exclusion, which you talked about in Panchadarshi.
No, that was second. The first one was that science deals with objectifies everything, while
yes.
this is pure consciousness. So that's the answer that you just did.
Yes, but then notice what I'm doing is the falsifiability criterion I'm pushing into the world of objects, and which it is obviously so. Why this seems unacceptable to a scientific mind is the scientific mind thinks all reality is objective. Whereas Advaita says the universe of reality, the objective universe of reality, phenomenologically speaking, in our world of experience, is presented to consciousness. So consciousness must be a given reality before we accept the world of objects. Let's bring in arguments against materialism here. I'm bringing in an argument from a thinker, Bernardo Kastrup here. He says, in 4 steps, to expose the strangeness of the materialistic reductionist claim that everything must be in the world of objects, and therefore falsifiability criterion also will apply. So just look at the claim. 4 steps. The first step is, I am conscious. Consciousness is there, and I am conscious. That is obvious. Nobody denies it. The materialist also does not deny it. The idealist also does not deny it. Idealist, in fact, claims that, begins there. So I am consciousness, or I am conscious. That's very clear to all of us. Step 1 is clear to all of us, and nobody ever denies it. Second step, there are others like me who are conscious. This is, you're already relaxing your logical rigor a little bit. Why? Because although others are there, I can see, I don't have direct access to their consciousness. This in Vedanta, in philosophy, is called the problem of other minds. How do I know? Only inferentially I can sort of judge that they are conscious. Why is this acceptable? It's acceptable because on the criterion of repeatability, it has happened at least once. In my own case, I see I am conscious. I can directly experience. And I can see similar beings like me. They're similar to me. They behave, they look like me, they behave similarly. So I can accept at a stretch, little jump, that they are also conscious just like me. Second step. Already we have relaxed the logic rigor a little bit. Third step, even further. This world of objects which appears is real and independent and exists external to consciousness for which there is no actual proof in experience. Right. And there cannot be. That's the thing. You can't jump out of consciousness for anything. Consciousness is global. True. All knowledge and ignorance is knowledge and ignorance to consciousness. If their argument is that, no, there is so many things which are outside consciousness. You don't experience the world outside the building. But I experience it as the unknown world in my consciousness. So the whole universe divides neatly into the known. Right now, known by me, I mean something very paltry like sensory experience. And unknown, the vast unknown around me. Here itself also so many things are unknown. But they are all known and unknown in consciousness. So that is the third step which materialism demands. Materialist says, we insist there is a world independent of consciousness. And the fourth, most scandalous of all, this unprovable, unestablishable world independent of consciousness is the one which is generating all our conscious experiences. Indeed, it is the one which is generating this body, life, brain, and through that brain consciousness. Epistemologically speaking, this is atrocious. Yeah. But this is where we are. Whereas Advaita Vedanta has what Vivekananda calls an internal mandate. If you go the other way, start with consciousness. Then everything is presented to consciousness. In the world of objects presented to consciousness, you can do science to your heart's content. There's no problem at all. But just accept that it is a world appearing to consciousness. And then you can relate it back to consciousness. That's where the cutting edge thought comes in. How can we relate this world of objects to consciousness? Advaita Vedanta is a very simple way of relating the world of objects to consciousness. It must be consciousness in some way. This world of consciousness. I am consciousness, no doubt. And these objects, these are appearing to me in consciousness, there's no doubt. But what is the nature of these objects? Independent, separate material existences? Appearances dreamlike in consciousness? Or consciousness alone appearing in all these names and forms? Advaita Vedanta says the last one must be true. Why? Because otherwise you are left with a dualism. See, on one hand, if you take the pure materialist reductionist view, then you are left with the twin problems of whether matter at all exists independently of consciousness. That would be one problem. Then from matter back to consciousness, that's the hard problem of consciousness. So you'll have two huge problems philosophically. The problem of idealism and the hard problem of consciousness. Whereas if you start with consciousness and you say material universe is there and consciousness is there, you will have the problem of dualism. That is, how do two completely different entities, consciousness and matter, how do they interact? Descartes had the problem, and much deeper problem, ancient problem, is the Sankhyan dualism, Prakriti and Purusha. And Shankara solves this by saying that matter is an appearance in consciousness. Therefore, matter and consciousness are the same thing. And hence, there is no interaction problem. Shankara does this by his theory of superimposition, adhyasa. Just like a rope is appearing as a snake, it is consciousness appearing as matter. And that makes possible this experience of life. I think it's pretty neat, logically, yes. Now, practically your question is, what do we do? Do we need to start with some postulates? That's what the Upanishads are. Here are the experiences of the enlightened ones. They give you a framework. Walk along that until you see for yourself. Once you see for yourself, you don't even need the Upanishads. You don't need those postulates. It's an undeniable fact blazing forth before you and supported by reason. The reason will immediately fall into place. We'll show you how this is. And the reason will be a way of, like a rope ladder, way up to that realization. It will point it out to you. But because it is you yourself, it is your own innermost reality and self-luminous, At one point, all that the reason does is remove our wrong conception, which is hiding the truth from us. Once that wrong conception is wiped out, the truth is always self-luminous. Okay, but it's a very deep question. You need a whole book to answer this.
Thank you so much.